Welcome to episode 135 of Nobody Special.
In this episode, we talk about handling stress and anxiety.
The Gospel Outpost presents Nobody Special. Hey everyone, welcome to Nobody Special, two Nobodies talking about the somebody who matters. I'm Danny, the host and stressed out gamer of Nobody Special.
And I'm Caleb, the other host of Nobody Special. This is the podcast where two generations of people talk about God, pop culture, politics, and everything in between, all while not taking any of it too seriously.
Hello, Caleb.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
Caleb, alright, I have some updates to give.
Okay,
They're very important updates.
Okay, I'm glad.
And I'm excited for them.
Good.
I beat Crash Bandicoot 1, and I'm only slightly very stressed out.
I'm proud of you.
I was doing that to de-stress, and boy, does that not work.
Yeah. Didn't work.
Have you ever played Crash Bandicoot?
Oh, that was my childhood game. It was on the Game Boy. That's what I played on.
Ooh, that feels like it would be harder.
I don't know. It depends.
Well, I'm playing Crash Bandicoot on the Switch. Not Crash Bandicoot 4, because that one only came out on Xbox and PlayStation, and although I have an Xbox, my internet's terrible, and it would take me 3 years to download it. Also, games are $60 still. Can we talk about that? Too much. Games?
Yeah, seriously. Calm down.
Cool it.
It doesn't matter how much more money I get in life. It still is feels like I'm ripping off a Band-Aid anytime I buy a game.
It's getting to the point, special editions and all that, it's like $100 for a game.
Yeah.
But don't you want the DLC and the season pass?
And it's
and the extra skins? I'm like,
I think it's worth it. The game at 60. I wouldn't pay more than that. I think 60, depending on the game. But there's some games nowadays that you're you play it through and you're like, what the crap?
You didn't resolve the plot at all.
That wasn't worth it. I mean, I don't know. Games I'm trying to think. Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild.
Gosh, if Mario Odyssey put out DLC, that's not okay, I feel like.
But those two games are the ones I think are worth it. All right.
Right.
Now you get to Mario Kart. I love Mario Kart. Don't get me wrong. It's one of my favorite games ever. I'll beat you in it. All right. I just want to be very straightforward about that. But
challenge accepted. Drop your gamer tag in the comments below.
Seriously. But Mario Kart, I feel like is it really worth $60? I don't know. I think it is, I guess. After playing it so
it's
much.
No. It's not.
Okay, $40. All right, $40.
All right.
That's what I think every game should go down to. $40.
I'm going to go out on a limb here.
Okay.
Racing games. Not worth the money. Not worth $60 at all.
$40? Would you pay $40?
Depends.
Did you play Mario Kart growing up?
Sometimes when I go over to my neighbor's house. They had all the systems. They had all the systems. They had the Sega, I first played on. They had the Nintendo. They even had the Dreamcast when it came out.
Wow.
So one of the four people who had the Dreamcast.
My age was the Game Boy.
Mm-hmm. Which Game
Advance.
Boy? Game Boy Advance. Ooh. Fancy boy over here.
And GameCube.
Okay.
And then the big hype was the Wii.
Right.
That was when I was old enough to be okay, sick.
I appreciate that Nintendo has just kind of leaned into their alt identity of, I don't know, we're going to try new things and just weird
works
stuff.
Every time, except for Wii U.
Wii U, yeah.
Although I really wanted a Wii U and never got one.
Wii U gave us the Switch in concept.
Yes, exactly.
And it paved paths that we honor those who came before us, even though they were not great. The same thing about the Motorola. It was an iTunes phone that they made. They made an iTunes phone.
An iTunes?
It was a phone that included iTunes. Made by
so
Motorola.
This was before iPhone.
Before it was.
Wow.
Yeah, it flopped horribly. People hated it, but it paved paths that needed to be paved.
Right.
And we will always honor the Motorola rocker.
Yes.
To you, Motorola rocker, who changed society through your failure. Like,
wow. Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. Even like the I have a hair in my mouth. I think it's the dog. Danny's been watching Phoebe.
I've been watching little Phoebe. Yeah.
Shout out to Matthew. I don't know you.
We'll bleep that last name for you, Matthew.
Oh yes.
Got it.
He has a very he has a very
his
risky
address.
last name.
Here's his address and social security number. No, sorry, gaming though. Gaming.
Well, anyways, I was talking about the GameCube, and that apparently wasn't a big popular thing, right? That's what I've heard, at least, even though like I played it. But it led to the Wii in some way. No, not really. It was very similar to this All Passes. The Wii kind of like, it was weird.
It was just them like, I don't know, let's just try it. Let's give them a screen in their hands, you know?
And now it's like...
Motion controls. Give them motion controls. Why? I don't know. Well, okay, sure. But I'm not going to bake that into every game so that every game is annoying. No, that's exactly what we're going to do.
Wii Fit? Did you ever play Wii Fit?
No, I didn't have a Wii.
What?
Yeah.
I guess you were older at that point.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how old you
Alright.
were. What, you were probably like 20.
Yeah, I was in my 20s and didn't have money. That was a... Yeah.
But Wii Fit, my grandparents had that. So anytime we went to North Carolina, remember whipping out the Wii Fit board, and my favorite one was like the downhill ski jump, where you had to like put pressure and then like lift up. Like that was so much fun. There's so many different things.
Yeah.
But what a cool freaking thing. But yeah, now I am a proud Nintendo Switch owner. And
Now,
so are you.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, I've been playing the Crash Bandicoot game, and I was playing it as a means to de-stress. And let me tell you, that did not work.
Yeah.
This is a game designed for children. And I'm playing this thing like, jump on the thing, you orange turd. Like,
how dare you talk about Crash like that?
How am I know what to do. I've done it, and they've created it so that just beating it is like fine and easy to do, but to beat it well, to go back and get all the stuff they just dangle in front of you is like hours upon hours of frustrating gaming. Of, well, to get this gem, you actually have to get all the boxes and not die. So and there's a surprise enemy right before the exit that you're just like, gosh.
And Danny is a completionist, all right? To the truest sense of that word, where it bothers you. Yeah, like, you are. Don't even pretend.
No. I try to be. I aspire to be a completionist. And then
it's
there's
like
just
a
this
bug
point
inside
of
your head.
just like, I can't because I'll murder someone if I play this game anymore.
I remember playing Destiny with you. And Destiny is an online where you can play with other people. And you could not go through a room without killing every single monster.
Bad guys
and that,
deserve
I remember
to die.
that always getting so underneath my skin.
They're the bad guys.
And because I'm like, I just want to save time. That's not the objective. You don't really get that much.
You get experience.
Sure.
I was grinding. Part of that game's grinding up.
Yeah, it is. It's a very grinding game.
Yes. I mean, there's only like 6 levels in Destiny.
I mean, levels. Yeah, I mean,
stages. Worlds.
I mean, there's once you're done with the story, it's just online play, basically.
Right. Now, I do miss the Destiny era of gaming. I am going to be honest about that. I don't know if I've talked about this. Have I talked about this on the show? I don't know. We're talking about it again.
I think we have, but
I miss the Destiny era of gaming just because, people took days off of work, made a lot of friends on the internet, and everybody could come into this place and grind up a character and become kind of a special type of character. And a few games have tried that. A Marvel game, a Marvel Avengers, they actually tried that. And I would play that game if anyone else was playing it and it wasn't $60.
I have no interest in that game. From the moment I saw the trailer, I literally turned it off after the first clip.
Why? It's a good game.
I just don't enjoy superhero-themed games. I did like Lego Marvel superheroes.
That doesn't count. That's a Lego game.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
those are its own category.
I like superhero games, but that type of game just like it was just weird to me. I mean, I knew it wasn't going to be on.
If Destiny were the Avengers,
right?
I mean, it's instead of building a character, you kind of get different armor, different things they can put on as a means of making the character stronger. It's not an experience-based thing. Same thing in Destiny. Well, Destiny's experience to a point, but then it just becomes about get Iron Man the better outfit, the better armor, all this kind of stuff. It's Destiny, but the Avengers, except it didn't get the hype that Destiny got.
Right.
And there isn't another game I can think of that does that it gives that kind of a community-based play and kind of a feel to it. I mean, Destiny, they were fantastic about that because they said, like, there's a new raid coming out, and people started, like, texting each other, man, all of us are going to do this together.
That
this
was fun.
That.
Yeah.
And the developers actually streamed streamed. It's not exactly streamed. Tapped into their feed, which was always a bit sus. That they're like, it's on our servers.
Wait. Did you just use the word sus?
Yes.
Continue. Anyways, I'll let you off the hook.
No regrets. No, it was a bit strange that they're just like, well, they're on our servers, so they just like mirrored the image of the top team playing through and watched it and cheered them on, and it was like a 10-hour raid or something.
Yeah.
And they had to figure it out for 10 hours, and they watched all 10 in the office, and I'm just like, that's pretty cool kind of gaming hype that I appreciate it.
Those raids were so much fun. Like, that was the coolest part of the game because you can't just like get a random group of people together and do a raid. Like, it needs to be strategic, planned. Like, it was actually hard, and that was what was so cool. And I remember there is an app that I used a lot where it was like people trying to get together on a raid when they were like friends weren't available to do it with them. And I use that, and sometimes
which
like
goes
it was
against everything I've been taught about internet safety.
Right?
Like, it goes against all. Don't meet people on the internet. I don't know.
I have so many internet friends.
Yeah.
That like.
Destiny changed that.
That were like my friends. Right. Yeah. I remember Ricky. He was one of them, and Captain. Oh, I don't know. Captain something.
Underpants.
It was something dumb like that. Yeah. But
Captain Underpants is a children's series of books.
And both of those guys were like me and my friends' friends from like far away. Right. You know? It was so interesting. And then even like I hate to admit it, but I did play Fortnite for a bit. All right. When it was good.
Yeah, I tried. I just couldn't get into it.
And I had friends that I'd play with on there that I met online.
Just build.
And I've been playing Valorant recently. That's kind of my game recently. Right. And I do have people that play it. It's just weird. It's such a natural part. Like these two guys from Atlanta that I play with when I get a chance. And they're two really cool dudes. But yeah.
And now to be clear, the stance of Nobody Special is to not meet strangers on the internet, just in case you're a child listening or whatever. So
if you're a child listening, what are you doing?
Wow. Yikers. Oh, no, I'm
Why are you wasting your time?
No, Crash, it was just like, this is a kid's game, and I've never been more stressed out while playing a game than I was playing Crash. I actually had to switch over to Spyro because Spyro is a lot easier.
The baby game.
No, it's more fun because I'm not having to like try. Do you know what I mean? And now because it's so easy.
That sounds so lazy.
because it's so easy, I am trying to get 100% in that, and I'm almost done with the first game. But no, Crash is good. It's stressing me out. I'm trying to go back and get the gems, but I might just move on to Crash 2. So, but it's a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and I'm pushing through it. So, yeah. And now, overall in our culture, though, speaking of stress and anxiety, overall in our culture, which brings us to our main topic of the day, I've been noticing, and maybe it's because it's an election year, goodness knows that could be the issue, but there's been an increase in anxiousness,
Right.
especially in my age of people. I know that it's an actual thing people go through, and a medical condition and all that, and also there's a fair amount of just across the board, everybody is kind of coming off as anxious at this point. So
Right.
I wanted to talk about that out of a kind of a biblical stance a bit on how do we handle anxious thoughts and stress. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, mine tend to come during times of stress. I know it's a thing that we joke about, but there are things I find myself doing more when I am stressed, as in gosh, I haven't really talked about this with a lot. I will turn the car around a couple of times because I'll stop and think, did I close the garage? And I know I closed the garage.
Yep, this is very true.
And I'll just be like, will you turn around and check? And it's like, no, you closed it. Okay, thank you. I just needed that kind of affirmation from someone else. But if I'm driving alone, there was a day I had to turn around like 3 times.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And it was hard. And then counting steps, that was another thing I do. There are 18 steps down to my garage, but 20 if you go down the main door.
Wow.
I know. We're just opening up to some things.
Yeah.
But I have found personally that those are things I tend to do when my stress is up, and I have to be intentional about not doing a few of them, as in, if I'm going down the stairs, don't count them, which seems really weird.
That is crazy.
Seems like a really weird thing to do. Yeah, it's 18 steps.
I mean,
and then a turn, and then a 1 step.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, do you have anything close to that?
No.
I mean,
not
any
like
kind
that.
of like stress or anxious or anything?
Yeah. Not like in that category, but like, I mean, I get stressed from all sorts of things. I mean, it's typically work for me. Like, mainly when I have like extra work, like I'll do my full-time job and then contracting stuff as well. And anytime I have contracting stuff, it's just like, it's very stressful. And
yeah, because it's on top of everything else. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, it's like I'm trying to balance all these things at my other job, which I like already have to think and kind of plan. When I'm off, just mentally.
Right.
And I have that as well, and so like that's mine, and there's other stuff that play into that as well, like whether it's like emotional stuff from like someone I know going through something,
right,
and, having to talk about that with them,
right,
like stuff like that can make me stress as well. But I think, I don't really have anything like that. And I think anxiety is just in a separate realm for me, if that makes sense. Like, I can have stress but not anxiety sometimes, and I can have anxiety but not stress. And I think that it's like 2 different things. I think for me, anxiety is it's a social thing. No matter, like, I'm not anxious when I'm on my own, like, if that makes sense. But like,
nope. Sorry, don't.
It doesn't?
No.
Really?
Not really, no.
But it's mainly for me, it's like social anxiety, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's a thing.
Which I would say I'm like very light. Like I don't have huge social anxiety.
Right.
I would say I used to when I was in high school. I was very like shy.
Yeah.
And did not like talking to people, very introverted. But, as I've gotten, like living on my own and stuff like that, not as much. But it tends to happen in social contexts, if that makes sense.
Right, kind of putting yourself out there, talking to new people,
right?
Engaging the small talk of conversation, just all that stuff that people tend to not enjoy doing because it's horrible. Like, how's the weather? I hate this. Like, so, no, yeah, I kind of get that. So, when that starts to flare up, then what kind of things do you tend to like do? Instead of counting the steps. What do you do? Or like checking. I'm a checker. my poor friend, I had to
do?
go out of town because of a hurricane. It was a big hurricane, and he was planning on staying. And I was like, "Hey, bud, can you here? I know it's off. Can you go make sure my oven's off?" He's like, "Yeah, I got you." I'm like, just if you're passing, I know it's off." He's like, "If you know it's off, then why am I?" No, it's not. No, that's not. You're overthinking it.
It sounds terrible.
Yeah.
But I feel like you've done that to me before, and I've literally just texted, yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I know who I'm talking about. It wasn't you.
I know.
And
I'm
they
talking
were
about
super cool.
not that, but something else. I can't remember. But,
Nope, don't bring it up.
all right.
Just move on. Just move on.
I mean,
if you think Caleb's being a good friend, let us know in the comments. Settle a debate.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of probably not the nicest thing to do, but
It's aggressive friendship.
anyways, I mean, for me, I would say I do a lot of like, this sounds weird, but like breathing. Like it helps me to like remind myself to take deep breaths. And that really does help sometimes. But I mean, on a more like actual helpful thing, I mean, the thing I run to or...
Not a helpful thing, but what's a good indication that the stress and anxiety is up?
is up.
Yeah, because helpful things, we'll definitely talk about those in a minute. But wow, this podcast would stink if we never brought up like anxiety's rough. Thanks for tuning
See
in.
you later.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just kind of like know myself.
Yeah.
I don't have any like anything like that.
And I guess it's because I've like traveled through it enough times. When the memory starts fading, to me, or if I'm counting and checking things, those are the good indications that I have, because my brain is in another place, that I'm not thinking about the things that I should be keeping in my brain. And I asked the same question like 8 times because I genuinely forgot if I asked it. And that to me, it's been a good indication that I am being too anxious to be able to function in a positive manner. That's kind of a good indication that I've understood just after thinking through it, taking time to go like, okay, I'm in the anxious part of my brain, so I probably need to be careful of the decisions I make and the thoughts that I have, because they may not be the best thoughts.
Right. Yeah.
I know in Philippians 4, 4 through 8, it has a bit to tell us on that. So Caleb, do you want to go ahead and give us a read?
Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice. Let your reasonableness be known to everyone. The Lord is at hand. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things.
So I wanted to talk about this passage because these tend to be things that are quoted and are good. They're quoted good, but when taken together, I think it speaks more to the overall encouragement that's coming out of this. I mean, it starts off by to have joy in God, in trying to battle anxious thoughts and being anxious about am I gonna get all the things I need to make it, just all that kind of stuff. The first thing is to be joyful in God. Right. And I think people just kind of clip that part and say, oh, I'll rejoice in the Lord, and I'll say it again, rejoice, and then they just stop there. And it's not that that's a bad thing to do,
right? But
it's in a context of, hey, are things going poorly? Rejoice in the Lord. I mean, it's kind of a weird juxtaposition of those two things, that in the same breath is talking about being joyful and also being anxious.
Right.
So I don't know, this entire thing, and then the part about quoting, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication and thanksgiving, make the request known to God. This is coming out of the understanding that we are finding our joy in God, and if I have the joy in God, then those types of things, the anxious aspects of it, are found, or are, the pressure comes off that because of the joy that I found in God.
Right. Yes.
And I don't know. And then after that, just the whole controlling the thoughts of, all right, are there things that are true, honorable, just, pure, lovely, commendable, anything excellent? Think on these things, because I don't know about you, but during times that I'm stressed or anxious, I tend to go through the worst case kind of scenarios of action, of just like, okay, everyone hates me and they'll never talk to me again.
Whoa.
How do I handle that? And I know it's never going to get there, but those are the thoughts that I'm just kind of going through over and over. Right. And if I'm honest, I wouldn't say that's particularly helpful.
Yeah, no.
So,
I wouldn't say so either.
Yeah, I mean, but is that... I guess it's easier said than done. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think this verse kind of hits home for me, because that's honestly what I try to do a lot of the time, is to not think on these things that are causing anxiety. But really, I mean, and this sounds like so, like this is just the Christian thing to say, but when I spend time with God and when I'm reading my Bible, I do not typically feel stressed or anxious. And I think that's partially just because I'm lucky. I mean, like, I don't have any of those medical grade anxiety things. But I think for me, and I kind of brought this up in our episode where we talked about, like, what, just catching up. Like, one of the things God has been teaching me is to focus on Him. And I think that is kind of true for me, is that when I am focusing on Him, I'm not focusing on these things. Like, everything becomes smaller, if that makes sense. Because when I'm thinking about work, and when I'm thinking about, oh, I said this, what is that person going to think about me? Oh gosh. Like, those things become so big and inflated when you think about them. Like, the more you think about them, it's just like, gets disgusting. And for me, the only way that it goes away is if I talk about it with someone else, and they're like, whoa, yeah, no, you're fine. You're like, and when I'm reading my Bible,
that odd blend of a friend that both tells you are not crazy, but that thought is. That thought's straight up nuts. People aren't going to hate you. All people won't hate you. Some people will, and that's fine. So, yeah, I get that. It's the encouragement of thinking, I think, is to put our attention back on God. I mean, because I don't think I can... Those things that they're talking about actually spending our time thinking about are all things that could apply to God. I mean, God is true. God is honorable, just, pure, lovely, commendable, excellent, worthy of praise. If I'm being told to think on those things, then the author of Philippians is actually, or Paul is just telling us to move our attention instead of on the anxious things that plague us and put them on God. And I don't think this is a downplaying of anybody's condition or anything anybody's going through, but this kind of a idea of you aren't the diagnosis, even if it is anxious. You are a child of God first. That is going through things. Not to downplay those things either. I'm not trying to come off as downplaying anything anybody's going through, but our identity first and above all is child of God.
Right.
And other things can try and define us, but they don't. If our attention is on Christ, then we have all we need.
Yeah.
And I found, to me personally, it's I spend a good amount of time trying to catch up to things I already know.
Yeah.
Because it's like I can speak all that, I can teach all that, and occasionally I need a person to come and tell me that, so I can hear it from someone else other than me, because I need that.
Yeah.
I need that kind of building up to know I'm not crazy, but the thought I'm having is.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I think that is a huge part of this. Like, seriously, like, get people in your life that will point that stuff out and that you can talk about anything with.
Right.
Like, I mean, literally anything. And that is, like, a different type of person. I only have, like, 2 people in my life, including you.
Dope.
Where I know that I can literally say anything to them. And that's like the deepest, darkest, grittiest stuff in my life.
Yeah.
And that's important to have, because those people are the people that you can trust, and because you trust them, that they're going to call you out on stuff like that, or just encourage you in those weird thoughts that you build up in your mind, So it's like
encourage you to get out of them.
Right.
Sorry, not encourage you in those thoughts.
Yeah, not in them.
Yes, everyone does hate you.
You are a piece of crap.
Go with that thought.
Yeah. I mean,
that's my Halloween laugh.
Like, I think community in general is healthy. Like, as a church, yes, go to, like, those people. Yeah. Like, ideally, it's nice to be open with everyone, but, like, sometimes it's just not what that relationship with that person is called to be,
There's an author I kind of enjoy that can differentiates between community and communitas. He put a specific word on it.
I don't know why whenever someone puts "toss" on the end of something, it makes me want to, like, slap them. But I'm not gonna slap them.
No, that's fine. He differentiates between communities, a community and communitas. A community is essentially a group of people that go bowling together. A communitas are the people that they do things together and go through the garbage together. It's a different connection than the bowling club. They engage each other's spiritual battles together in order that they could get through them together. So
right. Yeah.
You good over there? Is still the toss thing?
Yeah. Okay. We like, for work, we edited this, like, professor at a liberal arts college. It was really good. It was a really good lecture, but he kept on doing stuff like that where it was like, I can't even remember the word, but it was like that where you would add toss on the end, and I'm like, I just kind of want to, like, slap you, bro. But it is important because it's like you said,
the word
it's a
is
different
weird,
meaning.
but the concept is good.
Yeah, like, those typically have a more beautiful meaning, right? But, like, I just hate it. I do.
So I do think the aspect of it, engaging the spiritual battle, is together, because I think personally, in my case, the anxious type of thinking is a spiritual battle, and in a 2 Corinthians 10:4-6, it kind of digs into that a bit. Caleb, do you want to read?
For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds. We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God, and take every thought captive to obey Christ, being ready to punish every disobedience when your obedience is complete.
So for part of this that I found to be very, very helpful is this aspect of taking every thought captive. That, because, I mean, nobody insults me more than me. I'm the best at it, and I make jokes about it actually to downplay the times that I actually hear it and mean it. I am the worst at picking apart stuff in my own head. Actually, in my preaching days, back in student ministry, I had a standard that I can tear apart the sermon until I get to my car, and then I have to stop. And to be honest, there are days I walk slowly to my car because I had to think through where that sermon went bad. And then if I was still thinking about it by the time I got almost to home, I had to stop and get a Frosty. Because, well, it was a 20-minute drive. So if I'm still thinking about it then I've thought about it for too much.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I've spent 20 minutes just thinking about why the sermon was terrible, and that's not helpful at that point.
Yeah.
So I got to swing the pendulum in the other direction. But I mean, I guess that was kind of a good kind of first step, is understanding that the thinking I'm having isn't healthy. The step after that is I had to start calling it out and understanding, okay, this thing I'm thinking, can I credit this thought to God?
Right.
Because if it's a thought of, you are a piece of garbage because the sermon was bad, I can't. I had to stop and think, all right, is this a thing God says?
Right.
Is this a way God thinks of me? And to be honest, I'm not trying to be puffed up or anything. I don't think God stares down at us and goes, piece of garbage.
No.
Yeah, it's we are dearly beloved children of God.
Yeah.
And I can't think of a good parent that stares at their kid and goes, piece of garbage.
Right.
So I had to start calling these thoughts out. It's like, okay, if this isn't of God, then it's of the enemy, because there aren't other teams. Do you know what I mean? It's this or that. There isn't anything else. And to be honest, it's kind of slowed down a good amount of my thinking processes for a bit, because I had to train to do this, but it helped a ton to be able to think through thoughts and go, is this a thing God would say?
Right.
And when I started doing that, actually, it was kind of eye-opening to get to the amount of times that I couldn't go, this is God, because of the amount of times it was just spiritual attack.
Yeah.
And as I could call it out, that was taking every thought captive. Like, okay, if that's not a thought from God, then I'm not going to entertain it. The end.
Yeah.
And granted, there were still harsh thoughts of, I could have taught this better and done this and this, but that's a discipline and a building of the person, but it was never based in condemnation or shame.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's good, because I think thinking in general is good, right? Like, it can be very beneficial. But what this is saying is taking every thought captive. And the way I view this, I mean, I could be wrong. You're the theologian here.
It's pronounced nerd. Go ahead.
But when it talks about captivitas,
Captivitas? No, it's...
No, like taking every thought captive. The way I think that is like analyzing every thought and trying to discover its intent. Like, are you saying this about yourself to help sharpen your skills for this thing? Or are you saying it because, you're really just not being nice to yourself?
Right.
And kind of analyzing those things on, kind of putting them, like you were saying, up next to the Bible and analyzing, like, is this something that is good?
Right.
Because I think constructive criticism can be good.
Right. I mean, even
but sometimes it's hard to differentiate. So I think this is super important because those will sneak up on you if you don't do that.
Right. It's the to obey Christ clause in there.
Right.
And to take every thought captive to obey Christ.
Right.
And if I can't claim I am keeping this thought in obedience to Christ, then that's a thought I gotta let go.
Right. Yeah.
So that's been, I mean, captive is a strong term too. It's not just a kind of a smaller, like, oh, just kind of, ignore it in the corner. No, it's a violent term. It's no, tie that bad boy up.
Tie that bad boy up.
Waterboard that bad guy until it tells you where it came from, and then put it in prison, put it in thought prison, and don't feed it meals. I mean, it's saying it's captivity. Yeah. It's like no. This is a terrorist who goes in isolation. I mean, this isn't a well, just try not to think about it too much. Like no, tie him up, string him up, and take care of it. Do business until the thought is gone. And,
right.
And I appreciate the strength of mentality in that, because too often during times of anxiousness and stress, people seem to focus on that we don't keep an ability to actually do anything, and instead it's Christ kind of giving us boxing gloves and saying like, yeah, go get it. It's awesome. It's going to feel great. Like there's strength that God puts in us to be more than a conqueror.
Right.
Even over our own thoughts, because all the battles, they've been won by Christ. It's just a matter of us catching up.
Yeah. And it's going to be hard. Like, I think that is honestly one of the hardest things I deal with in my journey with Christ is the mental game of it.
Yeah.
And like, there's a lot of stuff where it's just like, it's difficult to think about. Like, kind of, but I mean, I kind of enjoy that aspect. Mm-hmm. I'm very much like, I think a lot about stuff, and that probably annoys a lot of people because I'm very slow sometimes. I mean, I guess it depends on what it is, but I think that this is very taxing. Like, it can be, and that's why it's important. Like, this cannot be done, in my opinion. It can't be done well if you're not focusing on God, reading the Bible, in community.
Right.
Because that's kind of necessary in this. Right. And it's hard. Like, it really, I don't know if that's just me, but like, that's genuinely one of the hardest things I deal with.
It is. It's hard because at first it feels unnatural, and especially during times of stress and being anxious, it's things get way more difficult. To actually process things, to think through things, because the anxious thought is screaming above all the other thoughts, and it can get difficult to get that moment of clarity in order to go, oh, that's anxious thought and an attack of the enemy. I need to not pay attention to it. So I've actually, there are a few things I've done that are beneficial, that I've grown in over time. I mean, the first is I call them default thoughts. At the core, these are truths that I understand to be true about identity and purpose, and because I do think strength of identity can give us the ability to navigate things during times of anxiety. That if I know this to be true and I cling to this thought of identity of in Christ and called to do the thing I'm called to do, then if I'm stressed out and anxious and nervous, there are things I keep doing, not because I want to keep doing them, but because they are the default thought of this isn't a good time to make choices, so I'm going to default on standard actions. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm
no. I mean, I think for me, that's like, I think back to my old small group leader when I was in like 8th grade. And we were encouraged to do these things called "it is written," right? Like, that comes from a biblical context where Christ is combating what the devil is saying with Scripture. So like, and that one of the biggest ones for me is just, what is it? Oh God, there's therefore now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. Like, I feel like that's kind of what you're saying. Is like these things that is what my identity is rooted in. Is that I am a child of God first, and yeah.
So I mean, other parts of that I found are during times I'm stressed out and anxious, I have an instinct to either run or hide, and those are things I have to. To me, those are the worst possible things I can do during that time. Is I have this occasional instinct of, if I'm getting too far, that I want to pack up and go somewhere,
right?
To just kind of disappear, and that's not a healthy thing to do. So if I understand that is a temptation I feel during times of stress, then I put things in place to not make that decision.
Right.
Because there are times that in other jobs that I've almost just didn't show up anymore, which would have been pretty detrimental to my career and everything else. But because I had the understanding of, this is the thing, I'm called to do this, and God spoke this, and I feel as if I'm supposed to do this, then when I'm stressed, I don't make big decisions. I carry on, which can be hard,
right?
Because it goes against like everything I'm thinking at the time,
right?
So, and I think that's also the other part is discerning when's a time to rest and when is a time to push.
Yep.
There are days that I have to wipe out the calendar and play Spyro for 6 hours.
Yeah.
And there are days I have to just skip the gym and go to a movie or any of that. But then there are other days I need to skip the movie and go to the gym. And in a spiritual kind of a context, I think there are times of it's important to retreat, because even Jesus did that. He spent time in places to pray, to be in quiet, to do those things. Those times are important,
right? And
then there are other times where Jesus stood and said, like, nope, carry on, push through. It would have been easy when challenged by the cross to just like kind of deuces out.
Yeah.
But instead Jesus said, like, no, this is why I'm here. And I think too often we discount the time of needing to put the foot to the boot and the boot to the butt in Jesus' name.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah.
I
had to think about that for a second.
Foot to the boot and boot to the butt.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is huge for me as well. Like understanding when my body or just like mentally, physically, like when do I need to rest? I mean, I had to do that this past weekend. Like someone asked me if I could do extra work over the weekend, and I was like, no. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hard because it's like, I mean, there's so many pros of doing that work. Yeah. Extra money, all this stuff, you know, like, but sometimes you just have to say no, and that's good.
Yeah. I mean, there have been plenty of times, sorry, I was just thinking through the thing you were saying. There have been plenty of times that just because a person has a good idea or an opportunity doesn't mean it's a thing I have to do. And I've turned down plenty of good ideas and good things, not because I didn't think they were important, but because it just wasn't a good time. And if I'd done that, I would have burned out. So I think learning to say no is also a part of that. If I'm called by God to do blank, then there are times to stray out and kind of give a hand to other places, but the prime calling is the prime calling. So if I'm going to kill another thing that I need to be focusing on in order to do this other thing, then that's not great. I mean, it could be a really cool project that pays a ton, but if God isn't in it, then don't go to it.
Right.
I guess.
Yes.
So that's a important thing to think through. Absolutely. Any other things that you've kind of learned to do to cope better?
I mean, I think That's a big one, and just sometimes like I like to stay home and like I'm definitely an introvert, but sometimes I do need to push myself in the sense of like community,
right?
To go hang out with someone,
right?
Whether it's hanging out with you or one of my other buddies, and just knowing when you need that time,
right,
is important as well. I think a lot of it is just trying to understand and learn yourself better, and I think that comes just with time, to be honest. And I think honestly you have to learn coming out of like those stressful times. Like I don't know if, at least for me, if it's like possible for me to know those. If I wouldn't have known these things if I didn't push myself.
Right.
And I think that you will get to a point in your life, if you haven't, where you're just like, wow, like this is too much for me to handle, and I need to know what to do next time. And that's where I feel like I've learned to put all these boundaries in my life personally.
Sure. The only sorry to do this. The only thing I might caveat that I'm pretty positive that you agree on, but I want to be careful, is to know us in the context of who we are in Christ. Yeah. Because I'm just going to be honest, too many stupid things have been done in the name of self-care and being true to yourself. Yes. And this is partially stemming out of another conversation I've had earlier today, so forgive me. But it's like, I'm just trying to be true to myself. Like, don't be true to yourself, because your true self wants drugs. Like you're true. No, like,
that's huge.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That is very important. Just
follow your heart. Your heart's terrible. Like,
and I think I'm even talking about in a simpler sense. Like for me, it's like, oh, I worked way too much. Now I'm sick. Right. So that's pretty obvious. Right. Don't work that much, but like,
I do more to trip myself up because I know myself than like being true to myself, you know? Yeah. If I do this, it's going to be bad, so I'm going to throw this away. Right. Yeah. You know, I had a day I was eating too many cookies just because I was stressed, and I stress eat.
We all have those days.
Yeah. And so I was staring at the cookies and said, like, how many cookies have I had? And I counted them, and I was just like, that's too many cookies. Now, I'm even a person that criticizes the serving size of Oreos. Oreos, come on. A serving size is a sleeve and not 2 cookies. Can you back up with that a little bit? No, it's all right, but their serving size is like 2 cookies or something. Or those portable packages that says like there are 3 servings in here. No, there ain't. Like Snickers, there aren't 3 servings in one Snickers bar. Right. Yeah. One Snickers bar is 1 serving. I'm not sharing it. So, you know, maybe be a little more truthful in your calorie counting on the back. But I was staring at it, like, I've had too many cookies. Yeah. And I need to so I took the cookies and said, like, I can't have these. And I just threw them away and took out the trash. Because if I'm digging cookies out of the trash, then there's a much bigger problem here. And I'll be honest, I ruined the cookies at that point. Like, gosh. There's clearly something else going on that the cookies must be, I don't know. That's not the main issue at that point. Right. So,
yeah. I that's definitely, I think we've all been there. And
we've all dug cookies out of the trash?
No. Oh, okay. Not there. But like having to just like stop.
Right.
You know, whether it's eating or something else, you know, it's like definitely, you know, going back to the calorie thing. I wish there was a world where we didn't have to be honest with health. I think it would be better
where we didn't have to be honest with health
if it was just like,
we don't.
Hey, just eat the whole thing, but just know it's not healthy.
Right.
Like, that's what I want.
Right.
You know, it's like, we know you're going to eat a sleeve.
Right.
Here's how many calories it is. All right. Right. Go ahead.
Instead of doing calorie cookie math in my head.
Right.
Hey, Domino's, 1 serving size is 1 slice. No one does that.
Yeah. No.
I mean, just quarter it. You know? Like, I feel like that's
like, I shouldn't have to freaking have an app to count my calories and everything in it.
Yeah.
That's too much work. Just put it on the back.
Complicated math.
You know I'm gonna eat the whole Snickers. All right. Sorry.
You know what's
That you
really
just made
annoying? The nutritional benefit between a Snickers and a Power Bar, it's basically the same thing.
Don't tell me that.
Yeah. So stop spending as much on Power Bars and just get the Snickers. You know.
Yeah.
They even both have chocolate and nuts in them. Like it is, there's functionally almost no difference between them. And if you're a nutritionist, I'm probably wrong, but tell me why in the comments.
And have you ever had the frozen Snickers, like the ice cream ones, where it's like ice cream instead of the nougat?
No, I haven't.
It's a whole nother world. It's good.
I'm gonna need to try those.
My granny, actually, little story. When I lived in Georgia, we would go over to my granny's and we would play cards and eat with my granny and pappy. And there was always, it was like playing cards and eating frozen Snickers. That's just like my memory.
Oh,
and another one is
memory.
Welch's white grape juice. Shout out to Welch's. That's my childhood right there.
It's what kids drink on New Year's to feel like adults.
Yeah. Yes. Well,
is this real champagne? Sure. Like,
not that. That's
sure
sparkling.
It is. Oh,
that's
yeah.
the sparkling one. This one's just like
Stuff's
the normal
delicious.
grape juice. Yeah, that stuff is way too good.
I
Like,
knew
that's
churches that they
dangerous.
used that for Thanksgiving. No, communion. Sorry.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know why that is a word I messed up.
I was like,
Speaking
Thanksgiving.
of am stressed and anxious, there we go. They use that for things. Oh, I can't. They use that for communion.
Oh, wow. I didn't even realize,
I
too.
use
Like,
that
I
for
don't even
communion.
catch it.
And it was funny. I had to go buy them, and I put the bottles up, and the person checking out said, "Oh, do you know if you buy 4 bottles of wine that you get the free bag to tote it?" And I'm like, "It's not
Wine.
Thank you for the free bag," and it just went for.
What
for it.
bag?
Like it's
Like the Crown Royal?
No. The Publix bags they have, but it's designed specifically to carry 4 bottles of wine.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, kind of the bags I have, but smaller and for 4 bottles of wine. And there are dividers in there.
Okay.
So I don't have to, whatever. Anyway, I did get like 4 of them because I got all the cider they had, but
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun. But yeah, no, everyone at that church thought like, "Oh, this is good wine for communion." Sure it is, Susan. Like, you sure?
Is this
Sure it is.
Chardonnay?
Yes, absolutely. Well, this has been fun. If what? That's not how we end.
This has been fun.
We want to know if anyone out there has any good tips or tricks for how they get through stress and anxiety and that kind of thing.
What are we at? Top 5 ways to get better?
We're launching Christian BuzzFeed.
Yes.
So we're only going to put out articles that are in GIF format. No.
No. Yeah.
Which one of the 12 disciples are you? Wow.
But yeah, if you
we
want
ever did
to,
make that quiz, I would program it that every person gets Judas. Just to like mess
that
with
would
them.
be hilarious.
It's like, ooh, I think it's I run fast. I'm good at this. You're still Judas. Back up. you
Yeah.
know?
They intentionally do
Like,
everything
how? How do
that is
they
like the
still get
opposite of
Judas?
Judas. Yeah, I mean, but if you want to ask us questions or just say hello, you can go to thegospeloutpost.com/nobodyspecial, and there's a little form there. Or you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Nobody Special Podcast, and there you can comment or DM us, and we will see that. So
yeah, and
YouTube.
the Gospel Outpost current is doing just kind of slow burning through Hebrews 11. Gonna be honest, it's taking me longer than I thought it would. There's a lot to Hebrews 11, but I am enjoying going through it and just thinking through these small one-off stories that just unpack into greater and bigger things. So I've been enjoying it. There's a few that are coming out that I've just spent time just kind of thinking through, but please go check that out, the Hall of Faith. I'm
Yes.
really enjoying doing those, and it's challenging a good amount of things just on the idea that I care or or that I keep of faith and what it means to have faith. So
Right.
please be sure and check that out on thegospeloutpost.com.
Plug. If you want to feel bad about your faith, just know that Danny is sorry. Wow, I'm getting some texts.
Yes,
I'm turning into
if
you,
wanna
Danny.
Feel bad. Oh, wow.
I don't even know what I was gonna say.
If you,
I was gonna make a joke.
If
I
you
know
want
that
to
much.
feel bad
But
at your faith about your faith, read Danny's stuff. Like where are we going with this?
no, I was gonna say Danny has time to read his Bible in personal time and write blog posts on it. That's what I was gonna say, but I got interrupted. Anyway,
by the Lord, like what are you just going? Danny's a super
don't feel bad
Christian.
about your faith. All right.
Dude, he's better than all of you.
Uh,
Anyway, well, on that sour note,
leave it to Caleb to end things on a weird
we really
note.
ended well. Let me go ahead and kill this.
Yeah,
So,
look at us just getting freaking texts.
I know, man, we're getting texts left and right.
We're
but
popular. Sorry, I don't know
we're
if you
super
knew that.
not. This is the only time
Yeah,
that
no.
happened. All right, this has gone on too long. So I think this is going to do it for us today.
Yes.
I'm Danny.
And I'm Caleb.
And we are
Nobody special.